Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, here we go, Matchbox March, back again. This time we're going to be looking at the orange range of aircraft. Now, as I mentioned in my intro video about Matchbox March, that basically I have a collection of these. Now, I only really have interest in the originals. So these are the original Lesley Matchbox range from 72 to 82 basically, so it's 10 years production. I don't care for the later ones, they lost all their quality, I think. You could see in the box that the same passion wasn't going into the production of it, and they took out things like the stands, so they lost a lot of their appeal on the aircraft, and they seem to not be making them as well, and there was the packaging and the design wasn't as nice, so we don't bother with those. So I have this big collection. It's not that big, it's about 150, but what is important about the collection in my case is that, as I said, I've gone out of my way to try and get mint perfect examples. Not everyone is mint. This Mosquito I'll show you later, that's a little bit bashed on the corner, so that's a little bit unusual. But the vast majority are like new. It's like 1973/75 all over again, you know. And that's the reason I had to pay a bit more for some of these. Nothing was outrageous, but some of them were a little bit pricey, perhaps £5 or £10 more than you'd expect to pay. But I wanted to have really mint examples because I wanted to have this thing that I think some of you watching are enjoying now. It's the nostalgia of it all. I wanted to actually be transported back in time, and I wanted it to look like, you know, a really nice example. It instantly transports me back to a day and a place in my mind, and I can remember what I was doing and who was with me and all this kind of thing. And this is what's really important about them. They take you back, and a really bashed up example doesn't really do it the same. So I went out of my way, and I spent nearly 14 years collecting them. Certainly over a 12-year period I was collecting these. A lot of them were bought on eBay, and as I say, they weren't cheap, but you've got to be very choosy. And I say to you, any of you that, I know several people have made these comments and said, oh, you've inspired me to get some as well. Just be choosy where you can and be patient, because getting a nice one isn't easy. And I've got some absolute crackers here. I've got one or two of the tiniest flaws in it. I say that's one of them. That's the more obvious one. There's one over here, but that was given to me as a gift anyway, and it's actually really quite good. And the actual kit inside is beautiful. I like that one actually, because I'm digressing now slightly, but it's got the price on it. It says Child's Play, which is obviously the name of a toy shop, I think. 60p. Now that would have been the original price, around about 73 to 75. That would have been the going price, 60p for one of those. So you realise, weren't they good value? I know things have, because of inflation, things have gone up, but even then, you know, an equivalent Airfix would have been 75 to 80p of a similar size of model aircraft. So you realise the great value you're getting with these Matchbox kits, with their wonderful artwork, the stand, which was included, a bit of history, and a lot of things that people weren't doing as well. You know, Airfix weren't doing it as well, Frog weren't, Revell certainly weren't. Not at that time. So, let's have a look at what we've got. This is not a completely exhaustive list of the orange range at all. In this case, with the purple range, I showed you, only about, I don't know, perhaps a half of my purple range. Many of those that you saw, though, I have multiples thereof, so I have 5 Harriers and 6 Spitfires or something like that. Can't remember the exact numbers now, but yeah, there's quite a lot of each one. I've only collected the ones I really like, so there are others I've not bothered with. Things like Dornier Sky Servants, not knocking it, but it's just not an aircraft that really interests me. So things like that I haven't bothered with. So these are the planes that really excited me when I was a youngster. Consequently, excuse me. Consequently, yeah, I mean, there's actually examples here as well. We've got the Messerschmitt 410, I'll talk about it later, but didn't have that one the first time around. I didn't get it, which was to my regret, you know. Anyway, let's talk about a couple of them. Now, one of the things that came up with the first video was this problem that Matchbox went through, where they were showing artwork on the box art that wasn't then replicated, the details therein, within the kit itself. Particularly things like the Mirage 3C, where we had these drop tanks on the wings, and there was none in the kit, and that caused so many complaints that they actually changed the artwork, as I showed you. So here we've got something similar where they didn't actually change the artwork. I think they probably should have. Let me just start talking about a comparison here with our old friend the Buccaneer. Now the Buccaneer was a very important plane to me at the time, because I think many of you that follow the channel will know I live near the Honington Buccaneer RAF base. And here we've got a problem. Now this is an issue that this got complained about repeatedly for two reasons. One is the bomb loadout, which is on the wing. There's a full bomb load there. And we've got 1, 2, is it 3? Trying to figure out if it's 3. I think it's actually 6 per wing. So we've got a total of a dozen bombs per plane. So people complained about, hang on a second, they then opened the kit. There are no bombs included, as you can see. It's all clean looking, which is quite disappointing when you're 8 years old. That's not what you signed up for when you've got a picture on the front that shows it with bombs. So that was a bit naughty of them. Genuine mistakes were made by Matchbox, and Roy Huxley talked about this. He was given a brief, and then for some reason in production they changed their mind, didn't tell him, and he'd already produced the art. And this is what happened a couple of times, and it happened with that Mirage. And with that one, it was so bad that he had to go back and, as I showed, they had to paint them out, which is frustrating, you know, silly. Anyway, the other complaint was, which I think is less valid, much less, people saying, there are 2 Buccaneers in this picture, there's only 1 in the kit. Oh, come on. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And they didn't help themselves by saying Buccaneer S2B. It could be read as Buccaneers, plural. 2 bombs. 2 bombs. So there's no Buccaneer. There's only 1 Buccaneer. There are no B for bombs. That's probably what people complain about. Anyway, digressing. So that was a bit of a disappointment actually as a kit. The other thing I thought was a bit weird was, if you look at the colours, they've got these sort of navy scheme colours, more like you'd get more appropriate to a model that'd be on the Art Royal, with white, pale blue, French blue, and dark navy. Very striking, as you can see. But that's not really in keeping with an RAF plane, which is going to be grey, green, and light sea grey underneath. You know, rather a strange choice was made there, and you get this from time to time. Now, there's a funny story about this kit. Actually, I've got I think 4 examples of this one. 2 of the examples have got those colours that you see there, but in a different order on the sprues. So in other words, the sprue on one has got white fuselage instead of having a pale blue one, and it's got white fuselage, and it's got pale blue wings, yeah, dark blue for the nose and tail. Very odd, like they've gone and somebody's got mixed up and set the wrong feeder pipe from the melter for the plastic pellets into the wrong machine for each sprue moulding, injection moulding. Very funny, very funny. And you did get these hiccups occasionally. Now, on the more positive note, here's the Corsair A7D, which could also get the same complaint, couldn't it? Because again, we've got lots of bombs present in this. Oh, and there are problems with this, aren't there? This seems to be depicting explosions and violence. It's actually only a training exercise, it says. Valparaiso, Florida, but yes, people don't like that sometimes, and there was this period in the 80s where it all got banned, and they had to, again, edit out all this gunfire and bombs and things. How ridiculous. Anyway, we've got actually, would you believe, 12 bombs per wing on this one. It's got double the number of bombs, although they're smaller than the Buccaneer. And again, we've got 2, and somebody could have said Corsair 2, it says, and there's only 1 included. You're probably shouting now, you're being ridiculous, but people, this is what happened. There were actual complaints. If you read the Roy Huxley book about his artworks, this really happened. There were complaints. Anyway, on this one, I'm delighted to tell you that this one does come with all the bombs depicted and missiles. This is really the opposite. It's got a right loadout on it. An absolute ton of fun for this one. It's just bombs and missile city. So it does in fact have 12 bombs, a couple of air-to-air missiles, yeah, everything you need, quite frankly. And it's got folding wings, which isn't even mentioned in the artwork, so you actually get more than what you bargain for. Several of you that watch the channel may recognise that I actually remember that I built this kit 2-3 years ago now, and I actually built it exactly as you see it without painting it. I painted the interior bits of the small parts. I did all the fine work, but I didn't paint the main body airframe because I wanted it to look like a Matchbox of old, and it still does. And I have one wing folded up. That's quite funny. Right, I need to move that because it's blocking my light. There we go. Now then, let's move on. So the orange range, I haven't got an exhaustive, I haven't got all the orange range at all, but I've got all the ones that I thought were exciting. So where do we go? Let's go with the Beaufighter next, I think. This was one that I picked up early. I think I picked this up about 74. And I really like this, and I've actually got a fully sealed version of it as well. I've got 2 copies of this. Or is there 3? I might be another one somewhere else. But this is nice. So this is it's attacking the Kiel naval shipping yard, would you believe, in Germany, and it's letting go its torpedo. There's a lot of explosions and violence and gunfire going on. It's got some interesting colours, I've got to say, very Hurricane-like. Remember the Hurricane from the Purple series that I showed. And we've got, yeah, this is actually a nice one because it's got this bulbous, it's the Mark 10, so it's got this bulbous nose, and you've got 2 options. You've got Langham, and it just says RAF Coastal Command. It doesn't say a location here. I suspect it's Banff though, in Scotland, because they did a lot of strikes against German shipping in Norway, so I suspect it's that one. And it's dated 73 again, so there you go. So this is one of the first of the orange kits, PK 103, or if you like, ignore the 1 and it's 03 in the orange range. So that's a nice one, that's a nice kit. Again, I'm not going to get it out, there's no point in getting it out reviewing it, only because, as you'll know, I've done them all. They're all on YouTube. You want to see a review of any of these, and you probably will, just put my name in, Peter Oxley, Matchbox Beaufighter, and it will come straight up for you instantly, no problems at all. That's a nice one. Then we had this one which, speaking of reviews, this was, I think it's my most popular kit review ever. Except, okay, no, the most popular Matchbox. It was trumped quite a bit by the Andy's Hobby Headquarters Holy Grail Giant Tiger tank, which is huge, 16 scale. But of all of the ordinary kits and all the Matchbox, this is number 1. I think I've got now, I think it's up to about 16 or 17,000 views. It's a lot. And this was donated to me by one of you, so I'm very grateful. Forgive me, I can't remember now who it was. Just on the tip of me, was it? I won't name names because I'll probably get it wrong, and several of you have been very kind with donating kits. But this is the one that's got 60p on it, and this was popular. This is a popular review I did. So obviously people must have, quite a lot of you had the kit apparently, and mentioned this and said, I had that one, I had that one. Now I didn't have it, so I'm very grateful to have been given it now. Again, some slightly odd choices in terms of the colours there of the plastic. I'm not sure about that. But we've got some very nice artwork on the back. We've got 2 choices there. We've got Denmark or an operational training unit. So yeah, and it's again, it's fair size of model. This actually, it builds up to quite a decent size. So the JU188, very nice indeed. And again, this is dated 74. I'll just show you so you know I'm not making these numbers up. There it is, 1974 Lesley. Okay, that's a nice one. That's very much one you should try and get in your collection, I'd say. Then another one that's quite hard to get hold of is one of the later ones here, the Saab Viggen. Now I can think of one person who, if he's watching this, is going to be having a trouser accident almost immediately. It's Jason from Model Kit Stuff, because I know he covets my Viggen. He covets it, he wants it. The precious, he wants to hoard it and get his hands on it. Well, he's not gonna. He'll have to go and buy one on eBay, Jason, but they are quite hard to get hold of, and I waited for a while to get this one. I think it's dated 77, 78. Let's have a look. Was that 76? It says 76, so it's a little bit earlier than I thought. But it's certainly in the sort of later series. Now this has got, I like the way they've done this, because they've only gone with one option, but they've given you, you know, to help you with the, I say help loosely, you've got the scatter pattern, haven't you? The Swedish sort of forest camo, because obviously these were designed to operate on roads if need be. and it takes off and lands because it's got this reverse thruster, takes off and lands very short distances, very short takeoff aircraft. And it's Soda Harm in 1976. So that's an absolute beauty. Even the artwork on the side, they seem to have got plastic colours that seem to be, yes, very much harmonious with its true colours. So I think they've done that quite well. And that's an absolute stonking kit. But I did have to wait. This is the one I probably waited the longest for. I've waited for about 10 years to get my hands on a decent one. It's not 100% perfect. It's got a tiny bit of damage just here in the box. But other than that, it's pretty clean. Pretty clean. Very, very nice indeed. Then, moving on. Sorry, Jason, that's gone now. Just you can calm yourself. Sorry, I'm just going to move that out of harm's way. Then we've got another really mint example, actually. And this, again, is one I waited a long time for. So I had this the first time, I think I had it about 1978. And this is one that's a Messerschmitt 110. It's knocking out. It's got great artwork here. It's I think it's the Battle of Kursk. Does it say that? They did make the writing absolutely tiny. Only children could read it because it was so small. Your eyes, if you're an adult, anybody over 30 probably couldn't read it really. But look at this. I think it's the Battle of Kursk or thereabouts. It's attacking T-34 tanks in a ground attack role here, and you can see the T-34s there. Isn't that nice? Yes. And this is a really nice example, and this one somebody had wrapped it in this fine tissue as well, so this had been really well looked after. And I think this is the one I mentioned in one of my previous videos, that I think it was a lady whose dad had passed away, and I think he was a bit like me, and a bit OCD and rather well organised and meticulous in the way that he looked after his models really. So that's what it looks like when it's got no paint on it. You've got a couple of options here, and we've got the Eastern Front, Russian front, winter 41-42, which is a very bad winter, and then you've got one that's in sort of September 1940. So this is based at Le Mans in France. That's the Battle of Britain. So you got Battle of Britain or Eastern Front. Quite a nice option there, and Battle of Britain's got shark's teeth as well. Shark's mouth. Look at that. Yes. Or you've got the buzzing hornet. So you've got some nice nose art in both cases. And this, as I say, is pretty much a mint example. So yeah, I was very pleased to be able to get that, and it was very nicely presented by the seller. So sometimes you've just got to be very patient, you know. I tried to get a Helldiver with it, and this one has got a slight crease in it where somebody's put the thumb in it, which is a shame, because other than that it's in very good condition really overall. But what we have here, we have the original issue of the Helldiver from the USS Bunker Hill, and it's attacking Rabaul. This is a 1973 kit, so from the early ones. Very, very nice markings. The first attack of the Helldiver at Rabaul. I think it gave the Japanese quite a hard time. They've got the other one's based on the Yorktown. Some interesting looking plastic. I don't know if you can make this out, but it's like a metallic, for the bombs and things, it's like a metallic silver. Excuse me. Nice looking, very naval looking colours. Yeah, it's cool. Sorry, I'm just going to have a drink. I'm talking too much, you see. Too much talking. Excuse me. So, gosh, I got rid of my coffee. It seems to have flared up again. Anyway, another one I waited a long time for was the Messerschmitt 410, which I briefly alluded to. Another one that's got quite a violent battle scene on it, and it's an unusual one because in this depiction, excuse me, you have a squadron of Mustangs just over here with my thumb in, diving upon these 410s. Sorry. And the 410s are getting absolutely plastered. They were attacking a stream of, excuse me, Masters of the Air type of scene, a stream of B-17s. Flying Fortresses and Liberator bombers as well. And they were going to have easy pickings, and they obviously didn't know that the Mustangs, and this is in May 44, and the Mustangs have given them a hell of a surprise. But it's unusual on one of these box arts to have the aircraft that's the subject getting a right kicking, which is not normal at all. So it doesn't exactly sell the 410 to anybody. But there we go, it's got a big cannon on the front, of course. On the side on this one we've got quite a nice looking depiction of the plastic only version if you finish it without painting it. That's quite nice. Then we've got, and it goes, I quite like the way they go into detail here. They actually have these insert photographs helping you to see the opposite side decals and things like that, which they don't normally do actually, which is quite forward thinking. And this is a 74 edition. And you've got Horst Wessel in Germany or Beauvais in France, both in either autumn of 44, and they were getting a right kicking, weren't they? Or you've got February 44. And I think that's when roughly when it first came out. I think it came out New Year 44. Very nice kit. And this one, again, I had to wait for to get it in a nice condition. Quite hard to obtain, to be honest. Shame about the tape, but I think that's from the original model shop probably. That's not factory tape. The factory tape is this very thin one here. Can you see that? That's the thin one. But yeah, very nice example. Not quite so perfect as I mentioned as the Mosquito, which has got this bit of a bash in it at one end. It's just a bit something heavy's just sat on it. And it's also been retaped, so this is not the finest of my Orange Range collection. It shows it here. And a raid on Germany, low level factory raid. It's the Mosquito Mark 10 with the big, you've got two options in this kit actually. You've got the Mark 10 or, sorry, Mark 9 I should say, or the NF30. So that's quite interesting. So you've got the clear glass front, or you've got the big bulbous nose. And of course the clear glass one is this Night Fighter basically, and it's got the clear glass. And it's based at Marham in Norfolk, which of course today is the home of the F-35s of 617 Squadron. Also, is it 208 Squadron, the Operations Conversion Unit? Can't remember. Anyway, they've got Swannington, November 44, or Marham in the summer of 43 Night Fighters. As I say, you can see that this time I haven't been so lucky. I haven't got a mint example. It's been retaped, and yeah, that does affect its value quite a bit. You know, it's had a bit of a bashing as this one. It's definitely seen better days, but it's still, from the front certainly, it's still very reasonable and decent condition. I've had worse. Then we get on to the really nice one. So we've got the American P-38 Lightning, Pudgy 5, which is actually quite a famous aircraft. And it was, what was his Major Toby Maguire was his name, and he was awarded posthumously the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was one of their top fighter racers. He had 38 combat victories. Wow. You see there's a zero going down, there's wing broken off, going down in flames here. This is quite a decent example indeed. Here we've got the assembled kit. Some interesting colours, but no, it looks okay. Looks alright. It's got some quite nice graphics on it as well, the decals and things. It's got all these kills that are shown on the side, and again it's got one of these cutouts where they actually show you in quite a modern way actually because the booms and the engines are in the way on the side view, so they show you as an insert how it should look with your decal with your kills on it. So you've got the option of Major Maguire, or who's a famous ace, and that was at New Guinea, Dutch New Guinea. Or you've got the 8th USAF. I think that should be USAAF because it's 43-44, but anyway, slight mistake there. But they're at Manston, which is in Kent, on the north coast of Kent there, near the English Channel. And again, an insert there just explaining how your tail fin decal should look. So they've done it rather nicely, this one. And this again is a kit that I've waited a long time to get my hands on. I didn't have this originally. I personally never had it. So it's nice to get my hands on that, along with the Messerschmitt 410. Another one I didn't have originally was the Boston Havoc, the Douglas Boston Havoc 4, and it's the Green Hornet. And this one, I have actually reviewed this. I actually cut it open, which is actually got little tapes on it, a little bit of Tamiya tape, because I wanted to. Although it was a sealed example, I wanted to actually review it for the benefit of the viewers and subscribers, which has probably whacked about £10 or £15 off its value, unfortunately, but there we go. And it says here that it's attacking Dutch New Guinea, the Japanese airstrips. Oh yeah, the South Pacific. It's a maritime strike, basically, taking the bombing strike against the Imperial Navy. Now this is interesting. This is a 1983 edition. This is where they dropped the window, but they hadn't yet moved over. So this is the very last of the original Matchboxes, really. They haven't yet moved over to having the Chinese writing on it for the Hong Kong production. But this is at a time when I guess these were already printed, these boxes. I'll tell you what they probably did. They probably just decided not to punch out the window to keep the cost down. But it does still look original, you know, in many respects. And yeah, let's say it's pretty much sealed, so well, I did open it briefly. So there it is. That's a nice one. That's another one I didn't have the first time round. And then we've got rounding off with some I definitely did have the first time round. So we'll start off, I think, with the Lightning. The AC Lightning, of course, one of the greatest and most high-performance jets of the 1950s and 60s. Quite astonishing aircraft. What was it? It can climb to 50,000 feet in 2.5 minutes, I think it was. Astonishing performance. And if you look very closely on this artwork, this is interesting, because there's two versions of this as well. They're on an exercise in Singapore, and they're actually stalking a Vulcan. You can see it there. And in one of the other versions, you can see no Vulcan. The Vulcan disappears, which is quite interesting. So I've got the original one here, which has got the Vulcan on it. 1975. And we've got an aircraft based at Singapore, or the one at Gütersloh in Germany, 92 Squadron. And that's quite a nice example. I've actually got a couple of these as well, Lightnings, in the collection. And then we've got the Jag. Oh, and I think I've got 3 or 4 of these. I really like this one. Now there are some accuracy issues with this kit, only because when they actually designed it. It's dated 73, but it's based on the original, it's got the weapons on it of the French aircraft, which they called the Jaguar 1, I think they called it, and the S Jaguar. Well, we had the GR1, and they had this S for Strike Jaguar. So it's actually got the French weapons on it. So there's a bit of an error really here. So it does have them, but they're not really correct for a Royal Air Force one, if we're being honest. But I didn't know that at the time, and I kept saying, oh, what are these rockets? What are these rockets? Is it Martel? And my dad, who worked at British Aircraft Corporation, said, I don't know what they are. I didn't know. So that was a bit embarrassing. Although he didn't actually work on the Jaguar, it has to be said. That was not one of the projects he was involved in. He was busy with the Strike Master and the Bloodhound and things like that. Slightly odd choice of different browns, it seems, on the markings. And then when we come to the back, it's got 54 Squadron or 6 Squadron, which I'm pretty sure both at RAF Coltishall near Norwich. There we go. Yeah, I'm not sure about some of that. I say there's another thing that gives the game away. Let me just make a point here. A lot of you will have probably noticed this, and if you haven't consciously thought about it, it's probably in your subconscious. Look again here. Look at the rocket pod underneath, the centerline ventral rocket pod. It's got the tips of the rockets sticking out. Now this is basically one of these Matra Sneb rocket pods, which again, that's very much what was used by the French and used by the Israelis on their Mirages. I don't think the RAF ever used that variant of it, and it certainly didn't have the warheads tips sticking out like that. That is from a demonstration aircraft that was at the Paris Air Show. And this happened with the Harrier. Who else made this mistake? It was Kinetic, wasn't it, with their Harrier GR3, where they had similar pods. They produced these rocket pods with them sticking out. And I'm glad to say it's not like that within the kit itself. So again, the artwork was taken probably from a photo. A painting was created from a photograph. And it's almost certainly a photograph from the Paris Air Show, I think that is. You can always tell it's got the rocket nose of the rocket sticking out, which they don't do. They don't do. The aerodynamics of that would be horrible. Anyway, finally, our little look at my orange range. We've got Stukas. The Stuka JU87. And this was a nice kit, I think, from Matchbox. Another one that's tank busting T-34s on the eastern front. Got the gondola cannons underneath. The Panzerknacker or tank cracker. Ooh. Attacking advanced elements of the Red Army columns in November 1943. Wow, okay. Nice, very interesting options in terms of the colour call out on this one. Look at that camo on the bottom one, the winter camo. That's very interesting. The Immelmann Squadron. Wow. And then on the side, again, slightly interesting colour choices. You think they've gone for maybe a grey rather than that green, but anyway, it's quite. At least the pale blue is quite nice, and it looks great with these great big gondola cannons underneath. It's quite a nice kit, is this? Quite a good one. And as it's the last one, and I've managed to not cough my guts up too much, shall we have a quick look at it? Because I haven't actually. Is it open? It is. We can have a look at this one. Let's just tempt you and tease you with it. So we've got our ubiquitous Matchbox stand, of course. Much missed, and one of the best designs ever, frankly, if not the best design ever, for a stand for a model kit aircraft. We've got 3 colours, so we've got the pale blue sprue with all the wings and tails on it, tailplanes, etc. We've got our clear parts, which look okay. 1970s vintage. We've got our main sprue with the fuselage on, which is pretty impressive. Not sure about the colour, pea green. And the spinners on there, and it's also got the rudders and the pilot's seats. And then last but not least, all the business end of it, all the weapons and the gondolas. And you've got some bombs here as well. We've got small bomblets. And we've got the big bombs as well. I think those are probably 200-pound bombs, and not very big, are they? They're tiny, actually. I think they're more anti-personnel bombs than anything else. And then you've got your barrels. These are the gun barrels here. Whoops. Gun barrels for the gondola cannon underneath the wings. Ah, very nice, very nice. A little peep at the lovely orange range, orange instructions, yeah? I won't go through it all. Won't go through it now, I don't think, but quite a nice thing, I think that's probably whetted your appetite enough that you rush out and buy one. Interesting thing actually, if you look very closely on the box, I've just noticed, look around the window, how it's got like dotted line, like it's a guide for them to cut it out. How interesting, I don't remember seeing that before. Not on the others, is it? No, don't get it on the others, like the lightning. No dotted lines there. What's all that about then, dotted line? Interesting. Either way, it looks like they didn't cut it out to the correct dimensions, it would seem. Well, there we go. So that's a little journey into my orange range collection. It's not definitive at all. There are many more kits in that range. You've got those, as you just saw on the side there. There are some kits I did have, but I don't particularly want to have again, like the Hawk Siddeley 125. And, Domini type aircraft, wasn't it? Just looking at what the adverts are, it's got the Stuka on that one, and it's quite good the way they do these adverts, isn't it? There you go, Messerschmitt 410, Stuka, Lightning, etc, etc. So there we go. Oh, we've got the Hunter. We haven't done the Hunter because it's off to the side. Let's have a look at the Hunter. Forgot about this. Bonus for you. Well, 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 look at that. So this is the Hunter. This is a nice kit. Again, it's got some options. So you've got the single seat or the trainer twin-seater. That's quite nice. Now, I have to confess, this is the only kit I can remember in recent times that I've actually binned in the bin. Because I had another version of it in a badly damaged box, and it was all warped, and it was really warped. And I just got about a third of the way, and I thought, no, bin. Off it went. You've got RAF Wittering here, you've got March 74 or April 74. A couple of really interesting versions. So you've got the trainer at the top, twin-seater trainer, and you've got the single-seater conventional one below, single seat there, as you can see, or the trainer with a different nose, twin-seater there. Some nice, interesting colours. Again, it looks a bit like the Buccaneer in terms of colour range. But yeah, the one I binned, I think it had just been near a radiator or something. It clearly wasn't right, and it was nothing to do with Matchbox. It was just somebody had not looked after that one very well. But that's a nice. It's got, isn't it got nice artwork? Again, it's Roy Huxley again. Such crisp art, absolutely gorgeous. Isn't that nice? An absolute corker. I like the way it shows the single seater below, and then there's got the twin seater in the foreground. Yeah, quite a nice kit. And I have built this. I think I did build it many years ago when I was younger. I think in the sort of late 70s, early 80s. And this is dated 76. Probably when I had it, to be fair. So I had that one popped off to the side just for space reasons, really. Yeah, so there we go. Some interesting, quite a few sort of 1970s RAF items there. I'll just show that vegan again for Jason at Model Kit Stuffs in case he thinks it's disappeared. I've still got it. Keep your hands off. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting though. Quite a good range of them, I know. I have got multiples of some. I've got I think 2 or 3 of the Beaufighter, I've got 2 or 3 of the Corsair, 3 of the Buccaneer, I've got 3 of the Jag, 2 Lightnings, I think I've got 2 Stukas. Very greedy. I've only got 1 Mosquito though. I need to get another one of those because it's not a very good one, that really. Not exactly urgent, not a priority. First world problems, not having enough in my precious hoard. So I'm sure I can live without another Mosquito, it's fine. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope it brought back some memories, you know, just looking at the artwork and the back, and when you see the plastic, it's like, oh, you see even the illustration of the colours, it brings it all flooding back, you know. And again, I can remember, you know, when I made this one, we lived at Suffolk, near Honington, where I also did the Buccaneer. And it just made me more annoyed with the Buccaneer, the fact that that had lots of weapons, even if they were the wrong ones. So yeah, those are the days. But it brings back happy memories, I've got to say. It really does. Because I was between 7 and 8 years old when I first got these, you know. So I hope it did the same for you. I hope that stimulated a bit of nostalgia. Coming soon, we've got the Red Range, and this is when you've really been a good boy, and it's maybe your birthday or Christmas or it's Easter or something, and you've been given us something a bit special. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, the like. 10 out of 10 for me if you don't mind, or whatever you think is reasonable. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, please look after yourselves, stay safe, stay well. Thank you very much for joining me in all your time. Hope you enjoyed it and found it interesting. If you did, tune in next time, and until then, thanks very much, and bye for now.